Hi, I'm Andy Villamarzo with SBLive Sports Florida, and we are here for the Coastal, our high school football podcast. And we have a special guest with us that we just were a part of his event. We covered it here over down in Fort Lauderdale. Dr. Kevin Perry. Uh, he's the athletic director over at Hollywood Hills High School, and he's one of the organizers of one of the country's biggest high school football events, the Broward County Classic High School Elite Showcase. And Mr. Perry, thank you for joining us here today. And great event that just took place down in Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. And, the pleasure and honor is mine.
Well, and I got to ask first, do you want to go by Dr. Perry? Do you want to go by Kevin, Mr. Perry?
Most people call me Dr. Coach Perry just to make it easy. They include all the above.
All right. Well, I'll probably mix it in all throughout the show. So, but you just had a successful second annual showcase here. 7 games, all of them great games. Let's kind of talk about the concept here at first, because I know we're gonna have some viewers on here that are they probably saw what was going on via ESPN, Flow Sports. I know you had 3 different streaming and live television providers for the event, and I mean, kind of talk about the concept, because I know you had it up. You had in Michigan with the battle at the Big House. So kind of talk about where the idea was conceived.
Yeah, it started at the University of Michigan, like you said, battle at the Big House. And you just wanted to showcase more than just your local games. So the state of Michigan couldn't travel outside the state or within 300 miles of another school. So we just did an East versus West. I mean, what high school kid in the state of Michigan does not want to play at the Big House? So that was the intriguing part. When I came down here, 2016, 17, I presented the idea. Of course, people thought I was crazy, but I'm a Virginia guy, so I got no skin in the game. But they said the best football players are California, Texas, and Florida. So to me, there's only one way to find out. I use the same format, and we chose Broward County, all 7 schools, and we bring in 7 elite programs from across the country.
And and last year, I know it was just under $300,000 it took to fund the event. I mean, the kind of money you gotta be able to put together and it's a completely free event for these teams that are coming into Florida, and then the teams that are a part of it here in Florida. I don't think people realize the kids are getting a bowl-like experience. They're being treated like it's like late or in December where you see the college football teams come in. They get to go to the beach or the local attractions. They get to be fed, and then they get to play the game. Kind of talk about how it is for the teams that are coming from other states.
Well, I mean, you hit a lot on the head right there. I mean, when I partnered up with Sean Sarah and the Broward Education Foundation with Cal and James Knapp, we just took it to a different level. And yes, we cover 100 their hotel, provide 2 charter buses, 3 meals a day, a trip to Dave & Buster's, plus a Florida attraction, and we give them some swag gear. This year was bags and T-shirt, courtesy of Adidas, who was a major sponsor. And I mean, it takes a team to do this, and I don't even want to try to name all of our sponsors, but it's a very special thing. Doing my doctorate degree, I did a case study on recruiting process from high school to college. And after interviewing 56 Power 5 schools, I found that 3% of high school athletes actually play in college, even out of those 3% who actually get to play in a bowl game. So why not give that 100% of the kids that come down to South Florida that experience? I mean, Dave & Buster's will tell you they've had Michigan in there, Georgia in there, Clemson in there. So that's huge. These kids are getting to experience the same thing as those top elite programs.
Oh, absolutely. Just seeing the videos, the pictures that you post, it looks like the kids are getting, I mean, they're getting first class treatment when it comes to the games. And What kind of goes in behind the process of selecting the teams? Because obviously the teams that are coming in, I mean, they're no slouches. I mean, these are the top programs around the country. Just saw some of the teams a couple weeks ago, and I mean, if people saw the talent that was out there on the field at St. Thomas Aquinas, I mean, you could liken it to I mean, it's like college football type atmosphere.
Yeah. It is, and between my connections and Joe Maimon from Prep Gridiron Logistics, he helps me out as well. I mean, we know so many people, and then you got to look at how many lost starters, who's up and coming, and we got to put the most elite against South Florida. I mean, the whole thing is to prove who's the best. So we'll take on any team in the country that wants to come to South Florida and play. And like you said, it's those elite groups that are loaded. And you were talking about St. Thomas. There had to be over 50 Power 5 kids in those 2 games alone.
Oh yeah, I mean, just St. Thomas Aquinas versus St. John Bosco of California, which if folks don't know, they played in the afternoon game, which I mentioned actually to a couple Bosco people. I said this time last year when Los Alamitos and Plantation American Heritage played, and I'm out there on the field both times. I mean, it was much hotter, Kevin, last year. I think there's actually, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe if you felt it, I was actually feeling a little bit of a breeze. There was a breeze coming through around 4 or 5 o'clock, and I did not feel that last year with Los Alamitos and Plantation American Heritage. So I thought that might have played a factor with the kind of that South Florida heat that everyone talks about when you come down and you're like, it definitely, I thought, played a factor with St. Francis Academy in that first game because it was sweltering. But then that second game kind of cooled down a little bit.
Yeah, we got blessed. I mean, much of, Texas and parts of California, we were all under extreme heat advisories, 105 and up for almost 2 months. But something just magically opened up that weekend, and I was so shocked to get that breeze at St. Thomas. And like you said, it was definitely a better turnout this year than last year.
Yeah, it was. I think I was feeling it second, third, fourth quarters. I was like, it's kind of breezy, and maybe that's what maybe played in for the California kids because they're used to it being breezy and sunny because you hear all the talk of it's 80 degrees over there, and it's just nice and breezy, and that's kind of perfect conditions to be playing football. And then if you're playing in Florida where it's like teetering on 90, low 90s, mid 90s, now it's like, if you're used to it, yeah, that's kind of plays a little bit of an advantage. But I mean, that's the part of inviting these teams from around the country down to South Florida is let's see if you can kind of take it to the test and see if we can play in that heat. And I mean, in talking with these head coaches from out of Florida, just what kind of intrigues them other than the matchup? I mean, is there anything else they kind of tell you that intrigues them about the event?
Well, one, I want to touch base on something you said. Coach Negro at Bosco, he's got to remind me every time I talk to him, it's a nice breezy 70 degrees over there where he's at. So he's always got to remind me that. So it was every time we talked, it was always a running joke. But all 7 of the head coaches, I mean, they're just elite coaches. I mean, I love talking to those guys. I love building a relationship over the months building up to the showcase. And one thing is that it impresses them the most. I mean, nobody's knocking down the door to play St. Francis or Bosco or St. John's. I mean, they're always looking for games. And here we are, we're inviting you, and we're going to pick up the bill. I mean, yeah, they got to pay for some transportation, but even certain teams that stay at a hotel 2 nights versus 3, we even give a travel stipend. So we help them out in that regards too. So they kind of look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them what we're actually offering. But again, that's where my partners come in, Sean, Kyle, James, and I got a huge team. The BCAA helped out in so many different ways leading up to the games and on game days. It's just an amazing group that coming together. We put on an amazing event. And I do want to be known as we are that elite event in high school football.
And kind of talk about the Broward County Athletic Association and their role with the event. Obviously, they they help out with all the games. And I know Dave Brousseau was helping out. There's Larry Bluestein, all kinds of folks that are affiliated with the BCAA. Kind of just talk about the relationship they have and just how much of a help have they been to this showcase and making it happen the last 2 years.
Oh, without them, I mean, they're critical. Without them, we couldn't pull this off. From Rocky, Patty, she's now the new director of student activities and athletics over Broward County. From Jen Hamilton to Kristen Garcia, I mean, and Cam. I mean, he's a work body. He's the one out there slaving and getting everything done for us in the hot heat. I mean, never complains. And that's ultimately what it is. It's just a big teamwork. And one of the photos I actually posted, I think it was after midnight, and we still met up in the hotel lobby planning for the next day. And that's the effort that it takes. And like I said, without the BCAA and everything that they brought to the table, from setting up in the hotels, like you said, Dave Brousseau, Larry helping with media. It's at first, Sean and I were kind of trying to do this by ourselves, but then we realized, like, oh, it's hour 23, and now we got to get a staff of like 40 people. And I mean, it's the one thing I can say about all of us, we all do it for the kids. I mean, without them, this is pointless. So we do it to put a smile on their face.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, talk about some of these athletes that have been in this classic already. I mean, you got some kids that played last year that already kind of making waves on the college level. Mark Fletcher, who was at
Yeah.
American Heritage, now in Miami, just saw he scored a touchdown, first
Yep.
college touchdown. You got Brandon Ennis, who's also at a Heritage. He's over at Ohio State. Just how much does that, do you think, kind of reaching out to these elite programs around the country, kind of showing, these are the stars of tomorrow. They're getting showcased here at our event, and then next thing you know, the following year, I mean, these kids they're already playing college football, already contributing.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're going to keep track of. I mean, last year alone, we had 123 kids out of the 7 games signed with a Power 5 school. So the impact, I mean, like I said, we're going to track them. We're going to be on top of it. And even the kids that played at another school that are a junior or senior this year, we're still going to track because they stepped foot in the Broward County Football Showcase. And like you said, it's when you have those unique matchups, when you have the 4 stars, the 5 stars, you never know. On any given Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that kid that you don't know about just blossoms and he has the game of his life. Now that completely changes his entire career, next 4 to 5 years of his college career.
Absolutely. And I'll say Fletcher, a kid I just mentioned, I mean, I thought he had one of his best games of the year when he played Los Alamitos in the Classic last year. I think he went for over 200 yards. He had a few touchdowns, and I came away. I've never seen him play before, but this kid's absolutely the real deal. So him playing at Miami already as a freshman definitely does not surprise me. Kevin, let's talk about from last year to this year. What were some things that you felt like you were able? Was there anything you felt like you needed to improve on from first year to last? Because obviously, like you said, you guys meeting up kind of right after the events already start looking at this year. And I'm sure you guys have already talked about next year, which we'll get to. Got to talk about what are some things you felt like you guys were able to improve this time around?
I would say just overall logistics. I mean, what I hadn't mentioned was the kid, when they land on a plane, they're picked up by 2 charter buses and they have a box meal there that they can enjoy on the way to the hotel. So logistics of having the buses on time, that's critical for us. The check-in process at the hotels, you're thinking teams are coming with 90 to 110 kids. So there's no way we're going to have that many check-ins. So Hudson Thomas, who was a principal at Pompano Beach High, is now retired, living that lovely life. He takes care of that hotel process for us, puts the 3 kids, one key, one person goes and checks in. It's such a smooth process. So it's those type of logistics, coordinating the food, coming back and forth. They get box meals after every game on the way to a hotel. So we try to spoil them as much as we can.
And I was gonna say, let's talk about your day on a Saturday when it comes to the main day of this event. And I got to see you for like maybe a couple minutes. And I think that's a testament to how much you're running around, making sure everything is right and everything's moving kind of the way the event should. Is just kind of talk about your day, like on a Saturday, and how that all like what goes into the day of Dr. Perry when it comes to that main Saturday, the three games.
Well, you know, the 5 a.m. wake up call, being at St. Thomas at 7 a.m. Like you said, this is a national stage. These are six highly ranked teams across the country. We don't want any hiccups. We got to make sure that banners are in the right place. So our sponsors were, you know, giving them what they need to do. The VIP tents, the Dave and Buster's tailgating, and just the overall game day logistics of being an athletic director. We're there to support Twan Russell and anything that he needs. And then after those two games, you kind of saw, I tried to set back after 11 months of planning and just watch football. But then as that St. Thomas game was over, we get in the car, go to Plantation, and we're American Heritage game. So it doesn't stop. It's a long day. And I was joking with somebody today. I was like, you were holding me and Sean up at the end of the night at American Heritage. But I know like I said, it takes a team. There's no way I could do this without everybody surrounding this. I mentioned the names with the BCAA group. They were critical in setting up VIP tents, making sure everything is in motion. So definitely a village that we have. I love all those people for helping me help my vision come true.
Absolutely, and I know we don't want to we don't want to go in depth too much with the next year, but I know you, and I know you're already kind of you're already talking to some teams, things going on for next year. What I mean, not to give too much away, but I mean, what kind of exciting things can people look forward to in the 2020 or 2024 edition of this event?
Well, there's going to be a lot more higher ranked teams. I mean, we could have very easily 7 of the top 15 teams in the country playing against each other. So it's again nationwide. I don't want to give too much away, but the best part about it, we're even thinking about expanding to a second weekend. So that's the critical part, that we're still keeping our 7 games in Broward, but you know we have some neighbors that we would like to include as well. So that would be huge for us.
And do you feel possibly? I mean, I know this is more tentative, but separate having it on 2 different weekends. Do you feel that helps with bringing in a bigger crowd, or just kind of helps out with the teams that are interested in coming? What would you say kind of plays a role behind that?
Honestly, it's something I hit on before. It's given teams an opportunity to play that they normally wouldn't be able to pull off themselves, especially from the public school sector. I mean, coming up with, I spoke to one public school that was in it this year, and they traveled last year. Well, how much did you spend? They said over $90,000. So I was, whoa, for a public school, that's a lot of money. So I'm just curious, and you don't have to share. How much are you spending to come to South Florida? They laughed and said less than. So to us, it's kind of that. It's given other schools an opportunity, like I said, that they normally couldn't play each other because they couldn't work financially. Well, that's where we can come in and give them not only the financial breather, but also that bowl game experience as well.
Absolutely. Is there now? I know with the events that are surrounding the game, like Dave and Buster's and bowling, going to the beach, just so many things to do in the Fort Lauderdale area. Are you guys considering adding anything more to that extent? Adding another dimension when it comes to the kind of the bowl-like festivities?
Yeah, I mean, Bosco went to a Marlins game this year. Highland Springs went on an airboat tour in the Everglades, so that was intriguing. I've been living here for a while, and I haven't even did that yet. Yeah, I got a whole football team from Virginia that experienced it before I did. So we name all kinds of different things, from the Jungle Queen, especially whatever they want to pick. we're there to support them. You know, we just want the teams, the coach, and the staffs to have a good time, and when they leave South Florida, just be like, man, that's one great event.
I was gonna say I've lived in Florida for 35 years and I've never done that. So if that tells you anything, yeah, the boys from Virginia got to do something that I've never gotten to do. So that's definitely something I'd like to experience at some point. But awesome
Next
experience.
year when you're here, you have to get on with the team that goes.
Oh my gosh, that would be fun. I'd have to buckle up and get ready to maybe see some gators. I know there's a lot of snakes from what I hear, from what I read about, anyways. Um, and what if there's a moment from the last couple of years, Coach? Just kind of talk about what stands out the most of the first couple years that you've been doing the showcase. What would you say has stood out the most?
Some of the things that I shared with my staff after the event was seeing kids, whether it's in public or, you know, some of the Chaminade kids after they left, they came back to watch the St. Thomas game. But just to have the kids say thank you. That's the biggest thing that I got out of this. And that validates exactly why we're doing this. I mean, kids that don't know, they couldn't tell you who my name, but I meet them at Dave and Buster's. I joke with them. I play games with them, but they tell you my name, but yet they came up just to say thank you and shake my hand. So that, like I said, that completely validates the reason why we're doing this.
Absolutely, and what I kind of go back to, and I saw it in a clip, is I think it was a Chaminade player, but he scored a touchdown, and I think he saw you. You were like the first person he saw, and I think he gave you a high five, and that was on national television. So I was like, that's cool. I mean, because that's that connection. It's like he knew, you knew, like you guys, bonded in that moment, and it was cool just to see like the acknowledgement. To me, that's what that's kind of stuck in my head, is that moment, because it's like that's that acknowledgement. Hey, this is the dude putting it on, just scored a touchdown, thank you, and then runs off.
And that's what it is. It's all about creating the moments for the kids. Um, we talked about it briefly before going live, but it's all about creating those moments. The big thing of why I do this is I grew up a Michigan fan since I was 9 years old. At the age of 29, I was fortunate enough to get a phone call, interviewed, got on the strength and conditioning staff. But September 4th, 2010 changed my life. When I actually got to run out the tunnel, touch the banner, just like every single Michigan kid that I've watched for the previous 20 years. Then you look up at 115,000 people. And you always get goosebumps telling the story, but to me, my dream came true. I made it. So the whole reason behind this is to make as many dreams come true as possible. Like I said, the kids in Michigan, they get to play at the big house. These kids, they're on a national level. And it goes a little bit of trash talking. Florida is 11-3 in 2 years. So, well, excuse me, Broward County is 11-3 in the past 2 years. So it's all about those opportunities and moments that it's for the kids. So if I can make them feel what I did that day, and then that same day at Michigan, the Brock Miller story, which a lot of people do know, some don't, but he was in a car accident, was given a 1% chance to ever walk again. But I mean, he was tortured by the strength staff at Michigan, but he let us out of the tunnel that day. So he walked out, although he was given a 1% chance to ever walk again. So it was those two moments for me is what, like you said, brainstorm this whole thing. How can I give kids to feel the way I felt that?
And it definitely, I can see it just from covering the last two events, the first two events of the showcase. Just is definitely going to be memorable moments for the kids, and as they become college athletes, and then adults, they can look back at it and say, I was a part of those showcases that still go into this day. And I definitely feel like this is an event that has become the elite showcase in the country, as teams from all around are. And just hearing about potentially some teams, and knowing the teams that have already been a part of the event, this is one that is continuing to grow, and I can't wait for next year's.
Well, in between now and then, be ready, because now we're helping out with basketball too. So Sean and I partnered up with the Krell Classic in Coral Springs in December. So that's next on our plate. So football, basketball, back to football.
Well,
December 15th through 19th, we got powerhouses from across the country coming out. That information is going to be coming out soon.
Well, definitely, whenever you have that information ready, forward it my way, and we'd love to cover it. We'll be out there, SBLive Sports, and I've said doctor, I've said athletic director, I've said coach, and it's because Mr. Perry, he does it all. So I got to thank him once again for having us at the event, for coming on with us here at the Coastal, and we look forward to the basketball tournament happening in December with a lot of elite programs around the country, and then the next Broward County High School Elite Showcase that takes place next year down in Fort Lauderdale.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, that is Kevin Perry, a man who wears many hats, can do it all seemingly. So we thank him for having us down in Broward County for the showcase. And this has been the Coastal High School Football Podcast.
Love the coverage. Keep up the great work.